Hi, I'm Kinkas and I'm a synth DIY guy. Today we're building an awesome new kit, the Imágenes filter by Olivella Modular in Argentina. Imágenes is a dual state variable filter with switchable low pass, band pass, and high pass modes per filter. It can be used as either a stereo filter with a very interesting and unique stereo image control or a dual mono filter. The cutoff frequencies can be linked via a switch, so you can control them simultaneously via a single knob or CV input. The audio input features soft clipping past its attenuator's 12 o'clock position, as well as a drive switch to boost weak signals or add overdrive to taste. And it can be used as a dual temperature compensated sine wave oscillator with 1 volt per octave response up to 5 octaves. This is a great sounding filter with some very unique features, and the materials are all top quality, down to the nice blue Rogan knobs and the brushed aluminum panel. Unboxing Olivella Modular Imágenes. Couple of stickers, ICs. We have a bag A here, bag B, control board bag B. Everything seems to be very well organized. This is hardware, bag A, hardware bag B. Okay. The packaging is all paper, so very eco-friendly. Get the power cable, and here panel and PCBs. And here's the assembly manual. You can scan the QR code and get the assembly manual, so nothing was printed. Let's see, a couple of SMD ICs are pre-soldered on there. Yep, looks like all of the SMD stuff is pre-soldered. And ta-da! Ooh, very nice. Anodized aluminum. Cool. Alright, let's build it. Make sure you take a good look at the online build manual and follow it closely while building this filter. I had mine open the whole time on an old phone, so I wouldn't have to print it. Open the main board, bag A, starting with the flat-mounted resistors. I measured each strip to confirm its value, then plugged them into the board without soldering yet. I then plugged in the diodes, carefully making sure they were oriented correctly. Then I soldered on all of the resistors and diodes from above. And turned the board around to trim the leads and touch up the soldering. Next, in order of component height, came the IC sockets. Snap them on, minding their orientation. The little bite on each socket should line up with the one drawn on the silkscreen. Once they were in place, I used the other PCB to hold them down as I turned it around to solder. I then proceeded to solder one pin on each socket to secure them. I made sure the sockets were flush to the board by pushing the board down while reflowing each soldered pin. Then I soldered on all of the other pins. Now it's time for the film capacitors. These are not polarized. Just plug them in, bend out the leads to hold them steady, and turn the board around to solder and trim the leads. Moving on to bag B, time to mount the standing resistors. Once I've measured, folded and plugged them in, I soldered each resistor's exposed leg from above, then turned the board around to finish soldering, trim the leads and touch up the work. Now plug in the red box capacitors and the tiny ceramic ones. Fold out their leads and solder them up. Next, find the two transistor pairs. They are pre-matched and held together with zip ties. Have a good look at the image in the manual, then plug them in and solder. Each transistor pair makes up the heart of one filter's exponential converter, the circuit responsible for the volt per octave response. And the temp coil is another crucial part of that circuit. It compensates for temperature changes and keeps the pitch stable. It needs to physically touch the transistors. I happen to have some heatsink grease on hand, so I use that to help with the thermocoupling. You don't have to do this. Just make sure the temp coils are touching the top of the transistor assembly and solder them on, then trim the leads. Next come the trim pods. Line them up with the silk screen and solder. The main board is nearly done. Just plug in the power header and solder it on. Moving on to the control board, open bag A and plug in the flat-mounted resistors and diodes. Then solder them on. Next come the tiny film capacitors. This time I soldered them from the top since the leads left ample room, saving me the step where I'd spread the leads to keep them from falling. Now install the standing resistors. As with the other board, I soldered the exposed legs from the top, then turned the board around to finish soldering and trim the leads. Place and solder the two voltage references. Make sure you plug them in according to the silkscreen drawing. Now install the hex spacers that will keep the boards together. The pin headers come in a long strip. You need to cut them to size according to the specifications on the manual. To cut the pin sockets, you will always lose one slot with each cut, so cut right at the center of the slot after the number you need. Then trim off the excess plastic. Now snap each pair of sockets and headers together. And start plugging them into the board, following the manual carefully. Then solder one pin for each header while adjusting with your finger until they are perfectly straight. Now plug in the other board and solder the sockets. We're getting there. Detach the boards again and start plugging in the pots, jacks and switches, without soldering yet. Next, fit on the panel and proceed to fit the washers and finger tighten the nuts. Be careful, remember these are not soldered yet. One false move and the jack or pot can slip out of the PCB and you'll have to remove the panel again to fix it. Now you can solder on all of the panel components. Finish tightening the nuts. Carefully plug the ICs into their respective sockets, making sure they are oriented correctly and the notches all line up. Attach the boards together, tighten the spacers, and install the knobs. Congratulations, that's it. Just check the power header for shorts and plug it in to test and calibrate. That's it for today. Make sure you check out the demo video too. See you soon and stay noisy.